Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Focus Your Ad Podcast, where we make digital advertising less confusing and more actionable. My name is Dan, and as always, I am joined here today by Glenn. Today, we're diving into a topic that can trip up even the most experienced advertisers, the quality score in search campaigns. The quality score is interesting because it is something that I find a lot of people just kind of focus in on it. They're so laser focused on it. Quality score. It's all over the internet. Everyone has to fix their quality score. Fix your quality score. Well, I find it's such a hard thing to fix. And then there's the complete opposite camp of people that are like, no, don't worry about quality score. Just let your ads do their thing. It's like, what is that parenting where you never say no to your children?
So when it comes right down to it, both camps are kind of right. Like you got to pay attention to it because this is Google saying, okay, if you guys fix this, you'll do better using our services. And the people are saying, they want to focus 100% of their effort. They're missing a lot of the information they should be dealing with. And the people that are ignoring it are missing what Google's recommending you should be fixing. Am I on the right track there?
Yep. I think you're right on track. And so if we were going to define quality score, in my mind, quality score is lining up your ad copy with your landing page. And go back one more step. Lining up your keyword or the person's search, even go back to the person searching. Let's line them up with our ad copy, which is lined up with our landing page. If we can make it line up properly, right from the time someone searches, they see your ad, they click your ad and go to your landing page and then make your purchase. If that whole thing is lined up and it looks just magnificent, if it goes and it feels right to the customer, they feel like, wow, this was a great experience. That is what I think of when I think of quality score. And I think that's what Google thinks of when they think of quality score.
So what they're saying in essence is if you can align what your customer's searching for and truly find a nice endpoint for them on your site, you're getting there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then all the things in between, like making sure your website is fast enough and appropriate for their search and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we could go over some of the factors here. Or the components of click-through rate. Let's go over the components of quality score instead, because that's what we're talking about. So do you want to bring up the components and we'll kind of dive into them maybe one by one?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so there's three components that Google set out here. One is the expected click-through rate, which is it's looking in the future. So it's a very educated guess by Google what your click-through rate is going to be if you match all these other components in place. Next one is ad relevance, and then landing page experience. So maybe we can just take one at a time, Dan, and just blow them apart a bit. So expected click-through rate.
All right. So if you think about it, I guess click-through rate, we should define that first. Say someone sees your ad 100 times and they click on your ad. Every 100 times someone sees it, they click on your ad 10 times. That gives you a 10% click-through rate, right? So expected is the one keyword that Google's emphasizing here. Is it's not that it's the click-through rate, it's expected. So what Google expects your click-through rate to be. So it's what they expect using their algorithms, all their systems, all the data they have. They can look at your ad copy and say, well, he's missing his call to action. He's missing this. He's missing this. I think his click-through rate is going to be a lot lower than this other advertiser. So we're going to give him a lower click-through rate score.
So they're actually looking back in the past too at what they're looking at your current setup, but they're also looking at what's happened over the last 90 days with your advertisement and your keywords. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So you have that history too built in, and Google's going to put all that data together, and that should be your quality score, which you have three different things that could come up, right? You have the below average, you have average or above average. I believe that's how they quote it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Average, below average, or above average. And that is going to give you a score for your click-through rate. So you can actually see this right in your ads account too.
So where would you find it in there?
So if you go into your, you can see it in your columns. Go click on your columns button in there, and you add this column in, and you have 4 different columns for this. And actually, there's technically 8 columns if you wanted. I believe it's 8. You have a quality score, then you have a history one, which is the history one allows you to see the quality score whenever you have your time period set. So that's kind of neat. And then you have the landing page one, you have expected click-through rate, and ad relevance as well. So you have all those, and each one of them have their own history one as well. So you can have all these 8 columns if you want to have them all. And yeah, so it's pretty handy to be able to look at that stuff. And it has to be at the keyword level though. So make sure you're looking at the keyword level and not at the campaign level, because you'll be like, where is this? He said it was there.
Yeah, because some columns don't come through depending on what you're looking at.
Yeah. And I think you found it a different way too. You found it, where did you find it? It was...
So I went down to the keyword level again. You go to the status column and drop down to whatever keyword you want to look at. Hold your mouse steady over eligible. Just float over top of the word eligible for whatever keyword you want to look at. And you'll see a little dialog box will come up below your mouse telling you exactly what's going on. So this one I'm looking at here is a quality score of 9 out of 10, above average for the expected click-through rate. The ad relevance is average, and the landing page experience is above average. So we're doing pretty good on this one. But it does give me a direction of where I can go to try and improve that ad relevance.
One of the places that Google actually gives you some information says, hey, here's the ways to improve your ads. That's why I think if you're in the camp of we don't really care about quality score, then you're kind of ignoring that. But if you're also on the other side and you're so laser focused on that, you're missing the big picture of what's happening in your campaign. If you focus so much on just quality score, then like, what about your cost per conversion? What about your return on ad spend? What about all these other factors? Like, are you putting the money in the right places in your ads? Are you paying attention to everything else that's happening in the ads? Whereas quality score is just one little component. And actually, we were reading we were reading the other day from Google. They said it's not actually something that is used, right, to actually calculate your ad quality. What was it you were talking about? Like a check engine light, I think.
Yeah, it's this whole quality score thing is I kind of compare it to the check engine light that comes on in your car. So it's going to tell you there's a problem, but it doesn't really pinpoint exactly what's going on. The other way to deal with quality score, to think about it, is like writing a test at school or university, wherever, and getting feedback on your results. So you're going to get told, okay, where you did really well, you're going to find out what needs improvement, but it's not going to change your score to get that information. Right? It's going to change your score if you take action down the road, but it's not going to change your score that you're sitting at right now just by knowing this information. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. It's like that gauge. You look at it and you can now make adjustments. Like you're driving down the street and you see that check engine light. It's not telling you it's like a lot of times it can just be something minor, like something that's just a little bit off, but it's not running your engine. It's just telling you that something's wrong with it. So,
but it does set a nice way of, it helps you set goals. Yeah. Because you can look at those scores and say, okay, I am going to improve my ad relevance, or I have to get to it. I've been thinking about my landing page is too slow. I need to get that done. And this kind of gives you a little nudge towards what you need to fix if you pay attention to these indicators.
Yeah, exactly. So you can now tailor what you're doing instead of just, if they only gave you the quality score, and which is nice, but if you only had that one number, it's going to be hard to say, was it the landing page? Was the click-through rate? Was the ad relevance? Like, what is Google saying that we need to improve? But you don't know. But with all these other metrics, like pulling it up with the columns, it gives you a lot of, or even hovering over the eligible status, you get a lot more of this information, and you can actually make that improvement, which is pretty cool. So do you want to move on to misconceptions there?
Yeah, sure. So I'll ask you this question. Why is keyword stuffing, why Why keyword stuffing doesn't improve your quality score? Why is that?
So if you were going to keyword stuff, well, for one, keyword stuffing goes back to, I think, when was it they made this change in Google? I remember this with organic results. There's a point where people were keyword stuffing, and what they would do is they'd put a keyword over and over and over and over again in their landing page. And this would help them get up to the top of Google. Google made a change. I think they actually named it like Panda or something. They had all these fun names for all their changes that would destroy everyone's websites. But they made this change, and it completely changed the way Google worked. And I think it did it for the better. Now it's better user experience because you find what you want and no one can game the system. The same thing could happen in Google Ads. To try to improve your quality score, you could say, well, if we have a keyword of plumber near me, let's just put that in as many times in as many places as possible on our website, on our ad, and do it the same way, exact keyword, even if it doesn't sound right. Like maybe someone types it in a certain way, but it just wouldn't make sense in ad quality. Well, what's going to happen? You could get more of an ad relevance thing. Sure, that could go up maybe a bit, but you're probably also, then you're going to have the click-through rate go down because it just doesn't make sense. Who's going to click on the ad that doesn't make any sense at all?
And that's kind of like cheating the importance of focusing on the user journey. Like you're almost scamming people to get to your website. They're going to get to your website and go, that's not what I wanted. And they're going to bounce because
Exactly.
You've done so much keyword stuffing and convince these people to show up on your website. And then there's no integrity to the importance of the user journey at that point, right? And that's what Google's all about, is making sure that what you have on your site that you have available for people to buy or use is exactly what you've been telling them all along the process.
Yeah, exactly. If you think about quality score as improving the experience for your customer, you can't really go wrong. Like improving the experience from when they search all the way through to when they buy. If that is in your mind, and that is what you're thinking about to improve your quality score, you just can't go wrong. That's the number one thing. That's Google's number one goal, is to make the experience better for the customer. And if you can make the experience better for the customer, you're aligning with Google's goals and you're going to win. That's essentially what I would be focusing on with quality score.
Sure. So why shouldn't we focus on quality score? Now, you come up with a good example of this the other day. When you were talking about selling expensive computer equipment, gaming PCs and that kind of thing. You want to explain what I'm talking about there?
Yeah. So one reason you probably want to avoid focusing just on quality score, for example, like maybe you want to try to improve your click-through rate. So you have a keyword, and let's just say it's gaming computers is the keyword, and you want to improve that quality score. So you're trying to improve that click-through rate. So you're like, well, let's just have gaming computers and avoid anything to do with expensive computers or anything like that. Let's say affordable, and this is great. Now people are clicking through, but when they get through to your landing page, all of a sudden they see a $5,000 computer, and they're like, whoa, that was too much. Now this could actually lower the landing page experience a little bit in quality score, but it's probably going to increase the click-through rate one because, hey, it's what they want, a gaming computer. They didn't realize it was going to cost them $5,000. So if I was going to deal with this, I'd probably want to actually lower my click-through rate because I'd want to get less people. I want to get people that are better for my business. So I'd put in there gaming computers over $5,000 or, something like that. And that way people see it. They're like, wow, that is exactly what I want. I don't want a cheap computer. I want something that is going to be the best of the best. They click through and now they can buy the best of the best. So it's a great experience for them. But you're probably going to get a lower quality score because of this. At least I would think you might get a lower click-through rate because of this. And but in that case, I'd be focused on now, this again, still the customer journey. I would be thinking more about my customer and not about this metric. This metric is great, but you still have to think about your customer and think about what's going to be better for your bottom line of your business. So let's take a step back here and let's go into how we can actually improve our quality score. So we're going to be going into, I guess, a little more detail about these three. So I can start us off here with the ad relevance one. So one way we could actually improve our ad relevance would be to create these tight keyword groups. Instead of having, say, for example, you have an ad group and you have every keyword in there. Say your plumbing business, now you have plumbers near me. You also have emergency plumbers. You have everything in this one ad group. Well, the ad group is, you only have your one ad, or whatever ads are in your ad group is going to serve to all those keywords. Now you could have such a variety. So one ad to serve to all those keywords doesn't really make sense, because maybe you have other services. Maybe you're an electrician as well. So you're a talented guy. So you have electrician, and then you have the plumber side of the business as well. So now all these ads, you could have electrician ads or electrician searches go into plumber ads. It's obviously going to be a low quality score. So having tight ad groups is going to help improve that.
So you're saying, like, if I was an emergency plumber, but I did sell other products, I'm going to be setting up separate ad groups, one for emergency plumbing supplies or emergency plumber, pardon me, and another one for plumbing supplies, or, you know, your local plumber, non-emergency, install a water tank or something along that line. And they'd be in separate ad groups so that I can serve them with individual ads. And that there is going to help me focus my expense to one or the other, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the other extreme too. There's always kind of these two extremes, but you can go so far as to create what are called single keyword ad groups, or as what's known as SCAGs. And this is like a swear word and to a lot of people, but there are occasions when you can actually improve your quality score, but it's a bit of a balance, and you have to be careful with this, because a lot of times people say, well, if I do this, I have 100 keywords. Let's make every one of them into a separate ad group. And all of a sudden you have 100 ad groups, and now you have to try to manage the bids on all 100 ad groups, and you can be pulling out your hair. So
it could be a little overwhelming.
Yeah, and now you're less efficient on the way you've set things up. So now your ads are going to suffer in a different way. So it's a bit of a balance. I don't think you should go down to just a single keyword in a single ad group, but maybe having five keywords in an ad group, as long as they all make sense and they have good quality scores. If it doesn't have a good quality score, look at it, and maybe you have to move it out into a different ad group. But yeah, you have to be careful you don't too far the other way. The mad scientist kind of, making sure everything's so efficient that it just doesn't work anymore.
So we beat up the ad relevance thing pretty good. So we're going to move on to click-through rate. To improve your click-through rate, basically you're going to want to make your ads you have to set yourself aside from everybody else. So, like, what makes you so special? Do you offer 24/7 service? Do you have free shipping? Do you have a special outrageous discount that's available for the next little while? Anything like that that'll really set you aside from your competition and make people click on your site. And that's the kind of thing that's going to really improve your click-through rate.
Yeah, exactly. You want to make it so it's hard for the person not to click on it. They have trouble not clicking on it because it's just like, wow, that sounds enticing. Then you have a pretty good, solid click-through rate.
So really attention grabbing and, discounts or whatever you have to throw at them.
Calls to actions, a huge big one, like you mentioned.
But you have to keep in mind too that it has to be relevant to the search.
Yeah, it all comes back to that.
So there isn't a lot to say about click-through rate.
Yeah, I find click-through rate is one of the harder ones to really improve, because it also ties in a bit with ad relevance, because if it's, like you mentioned, if it's lines up with the ad or with the person searching, they're more likely to click on it. So those two are kind of tied in a little bit together, but I think just find ways to stand out.
So we can move on to landing page, and one of the big things for landing page is to make sure it's fast. If you have a slow, even a 1 second delay on a landing page, you could see people bouncing from that page before it actually ever opens up in front of them.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, page speed has been a huge one for Google for a long time. Organic or ads, it's always been something because, again, people don't want to wait. They don't have to wait. If they have to wait 10 seconds to load your website versus the other website loads instantly, why would they want to wait? So Google recognizes that and will penalize you for having a slow website. And it's because they're aligning their goals with the customer.
Yeah, and internet service is so fast now. It's lightning fast. People are going to look at any delays as being your landing page more often than an internet service problem.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so much competition out there that they don't have to wait. They can go to the next page and loads quick.
Absolutely. Another couple things there is making sure your landing page is mobile friendly, because a lot of people are not using desktop computers all the time. They're looking for something on the way to work, on the way home, or at the job site, whatever. So make sure that your site is mobile friendly. And the simplest way to do that is grab your own cell phone, your own iPad, have a look at it. Just bring up your own ads, your own site, your landing page, and make sure that they look good on that device. And if they look good for you, they're going to look good for somebody that's actually searching from a job site or whatever.
Really, if you have a nice looking website, it's fast. Make sure your good calls to actions. It like you have somewhere for someone to actually go. It's not a confusing website. The site is engaging. It's not overly complicated. That's what I find. It's people either make it just completely complicated and there's so much going on you don't even know where to go, or they forget to have a call to action at all and their phone number is just hiding somewhere in the website. So you got to really make sure that all that's dialed in. Let's move on to the next little section here. I made some scenarios. Essentially, we can just walk our way through a couple scenarios here and kind of give you some ideas on how you could actually improve things, or what a good quality score, or how to improve a quality score for some of these accounts. So the first one I got here is a plumber campaign. Here's the scenario. So we got a plumbing campaign, and we have hot water installation, and they also have an emergency plumber. So we have the two different kind of categories because they have two different businesses. So they could do installations and they do more of an emergency plumbing because, all of a sudden your house, you're now swimming in your house and you need someone to plug the hole. So I guess we could take this and go back to our 3 steps. So if we're going back to add relevancy, is there any things that we'd want to kind of focus on with this? For example, with add relevancy, we might want to make sure that we have a keyword for hot water installation. Maybe that's one of our keywords. And then we have another one for emergency plumbers near me. So maybe we have 2 separate ad groups in this campaign now. We have one that has the hot water installation and one that has the plumber near me, right? That's kind of the first step. And that's going to help us to now tailor our ad. So we have our ad with emergency plumber is going to have stuff about emergencies. It's going to speak to that person that's panicking because their house is flooding. It's going to speak to them. It's going to have a call to action. And that's the first step. Hot water installation is going to speak to that person. It's going to be more about, hey, we have these options and we have these options. This might be a good, because they have time to think about it, right?
So now with that scenario, Dan, somebody would click on emergency plumber and it would go to the same business, but it should bring up the landing page for an emergency plumber, not the hot water tank.
Yeah, exactly. So we want it to speak to that person again.
Right, and that's the important part, is make sure that their journey from their house flooding to the computer to the internet to your ad to your landing page is all very true to what they want, what they're initially looking for. And the same with the hot water installation. It should take them to the same company, but to a different landing page or a different area of the website.
Yeah, exactly. And that's going to help that journey from the start to the finish. And I guess the one in the between was the click-through rate, which if you're like, obviously someone's going to click more often if they have an emergency and they see emergency plumber right in the heading right there. That's going to, I'm going to click on it because I'm like, I need that. That's what I need. I don't need someone to install a hot water tank or to do something else. I need emergency plumber. So if it says emergency plumber, it's going to be a high click-through rate. And it says maybe something like 24/7 support will be there in an hour, something like that. It's going to catch my attention. I mean, like, that's what I need. So that's where the click-through rate kind of comes into it. Okay, let's see if we have another one here. We could go over maybe one more of these.
Okay, so toy company selling board games.
So if we had a toy company selling board games, I guess we have two different things. We have the family board games and we have strategy board games. Again, those would be two separate customers. There might be some overlap there, but I think they'd be kind of separate customers. You can have family board games, which is someone looking for just a fun board game. The strategy board game might be looking for more of that intense kind of game where they can really dive into for months and try to figure this thing out and learn it, right? But the family board games just want something that's fun. So again, different ad copy for both. One is, hey, this is a fun board game. The other one is, this is the most strategic game that we have. We have the top board games here with the highest quality setups and all this, right? It might be more like that. Different games like, or I guess not really board games, so I'm thinking like the Warhammer type of stuff that's available out there on board games versus the family ones.
Versus like a Monopoly type of game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, but you're setting up two separate ad groups for these, then two separate ads, and you're going to two separate areas of the landing page or the website.
Exactly.
And that's guaranteeing that journey for the client or the customer. It's guaranteeing that journey is going to take them to what they're intending to look for.
Yeah, exactly. So you have that straight line from your ads all the way to your business, and it's taking the person to the right area of your website with the right ad copy. And that's what the name of the game with Quality Score.
Yeah. So we're going to mention this other one, Dan, just because I like this one.
Yeah.
It's a learn to sail course, like an online course where you can learn to sail. And for the example, and it's setting up different groups for different courses, like ad groups for beginner sailing course versus an advanced sailing course. Ad copy has to match the skill level of each audience, beginner or advanced sailor, because they're quite different in what they're actually looking for. So you don't want an old salty sailor that's got 35 years sailing going to the beginner how to tie a knot, right?
Yeah.
So you need those. It's really important to have that separation through your ad and through your website landing page where he's going to actually end up.
Exactly. And the beginner should have. They might not understand the language that you're setting out. Like you might even put different words in, like
Yar.
Yeah. Some pirate language in the advanced one, sure, where the beginner might not understand the pirate language. But you would have different language for the advanced. For the beginner, you don't want to be talking over the head of the beginner, because then they're going to move on to the next card. They're going to say, well, I don't understand this. It's obviously too advanced for me. Move on. Whereas the advanced one, you don't want to be saying, well, this is a boat and this is how it floats and this is a sail, right? Because they already understand all that. So you have to talk at their level. This is a pretty neat one. And I think it's one that could apply to a lot of businesses out there, especially like courses and different things like that, where you have different audiences at different levels in the funnel. Really, we just keep repeating the same thing. It's about getting that ad copy to match the search, and then the ad copy and search to match the landing page, and not just robotically writing the same thing, but it's about thinking about your customer as the number one thing and making sure it all is perfectly aligning with that customer.
So Dan, we've said people should watch this, but it's not the end all of the metrics that they should be watching. There's so much more involved in Google Ads to be watching for. How often would you say somebody should be checking their quality score to make sure their campaigns are performing as they should be?
So the way I do it is I would actually set myself kind of a reminder. I'll make a change, because quality score isn't something that changes quickly. So I might take a keyword and say, that's a pretty low quality score. So I'll grab that keyword and I'll make some changes to make sure it lines up even better. Maybe I'll fix the wording, or I'll make it more relevant, or anything I change. And then I'll make myself a note somewhere that maybe in a week's time, I'll look at again and I'll review it and I'll say, did it change? Because it usually takes at least a week before I find the quality score to change. So you shouldn't be looking at it more than once a week at most. You could even do it every 2 weeks and then make a change, watch it, and then watch in 2 weeks time, check back and see, did it increase? Did it decrease? And this is why I like to do it kind of small sections at a time. Because if you change everything at once, you can be like, okay, yeah, some look like they went up, some look like they went down. I don't know what happened. And you'll lose interest in trying to fix it, or you'll get frustrated with it. So make small changes, write down what you had for the quality score before, because it's a pain to find. You can find it, but it's kind of a pain. So short answer, I guess. Short answer, yeah, a week or two.
So it's like Google. It's a big machine to turn, right?
Yeah.
So take your time. And so any closing thoughts there, Dan? Or
I think we've covered things pretty well, but just to kind of summarize, I guess quality score, it's all about that user journey. If you can think of that, that's pretty much it. But just don't get too hyper focused on it that you neglect everything else in your account. It's just one thing to focus on.
And these changes that you're making for quality score do not affect the ads or the ad auctions, right?
Yeah.
So it's not critical it's critical to work towards these good scores, but it's not an instantaneous result. So like Dan said, just take your time and do a little bit at a time and see which one's what you're able to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's that's a really good point, because it's not directly impacting. We saw that right in the Google documents. They say in there, this is not something that affects ad quality, which ad quality, apparently I don't know why they called it almost the same thing, but quality score and ad quality are different. And ad quality is something that they use to in their formula to figure out how much you're bidding. So it can increase your bids, decrease your bids. Quality score is not in that. It doesn't affect your bids, whereas it used to. And that was what they always told us, that quality score was directly in this formula that would affect your bids. That's not the case. It's like Google has a pie. They have this full pie in their hands, right? And they take a slice and they give us the slice of the pie. The components are the same. You have the apples, you have the crust, right? But you only get a slice. You only get to see a little bit of what's happening. Whereas they have the whole pie. They saw the whole process of how it's baked, but they give you a little bit so you can taste it and see if you can improve it, right? So I think that makes sense. I don't know. Just made up on the spot.
Yeah, that does make sense. Sure. Okay.
So it's apple pie is really the final thought on the quality score. All right. So I think we've kind of covered quality score. We've hit most of the points. So hopefully you've learned something from it. It's, like I said, it's all about that user journey. And if you did find this episode useful, hit that subscribe button. We're going to be bringing out more of these podcasts in the future. And feel free to give us a rating, preferably 5 stars. Just kidding, but we do like 5-star ratings. But if you do want to work with us as well, we have a website, focusyourads.com, where we offer coaching, so we can actually do some coaching, or management. The coaching part's not even on our website, so just send us an email and we can chat about coaching, or management services, which is our main business. So if you have interest in doing that, we'd love to hear from you. So take care, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.
Take care, everyone.